in the dark of the tower. Since there has been progress in both investigations, shall we share the findings from our respective locales?
Your time in Thavnair has certainly been eventful. In my opinion, carrying out Vrtra's request and assaulting the Tower of Zot should be our highest priority.
I agree. While I still have questions concerning the Forum and their grand undertaking, we have all but exhausted our avenues of investigation. Simply pressing them any harder on the subject will almost certainly result in our expulsion. Therefore, I suggest we explore the ethereal sea connection by way of a letter to Master Matoya, then make our way to Thavnair.
I wonder, even with the protection these talismans afford us, what can we hope to achieve once inside the tower? According to Orenvold and Fodola's report, they were unable to free the Eorzea. Worse, their attempts triggered the tower's defenses, which led to a summoning of Luna Ifrit.
What does it tell us that the Spires even have such defenses? Simply pulling a prisoner from the wall is fatal, thus the direct approach is doomed to failure from the outset. Any further measures to dissuade such actions seem unnecessary. Unless, of course, there is a way to free the prisoners without killing them. Then it stands to reason that any intruders will be met with overwhelming force.
The towers appeared throughout the world in but the twinkling of an eye. 'Twas by magical means these structures were raised, I surmise. A spire thus conjured must needs be maintained, and I suspect an arcane catalyst, some manner of core, doth lie hidden within. Destroy the core, and the tower ceaseth to be, thus liberating the captives without harm.
So we can hope, and I would prefer to enter the tower with a working theory than with no plan at all.
Assuming Ishtola's reasoning is correct, the chances of the defenses remaining dormant are small to none. Any primals will have to be dealt with, and defeating one will likely only lead to the summoning of another. Our every victory will only compound the prisoner's suffering.
May we not then divide our forces? Those proficient in healing will focus on sustaining the captives. That duty can be covered by Urianger, Kryl, Rostela, and myself.
Healing? Ystola's a black mage. Oh, but she was a conjurer. Okay.
The remaining scions will proceed with the search for the core. Admittedly, this strategy puts both parties at greater risk, but it should bolster our chances of saving the Eorzea by a considerable margin.
Are you sure Afino is in the right group?
If you're to fight primals, then you'd best have at least one healer with you.
And I am more than happy to fulfill that role. I found wielding a sage's armaments to be rather intuitive, and look forward to testing them against a more challenging foe.
It seems we have a plan. All that remains is to carry it out. I will inform Radzit-Han of our movements, so let us make our preparations and regroup near the tower.
The military post in what's left of the Hansa hatchery should serve as a convenient staging point.
That sounds perfect. And remember, the experimental aetheryte at the confluence is there for those who need it, so there's no excuse for being late.
Wait, Radzit-Han is next to Garlemald? Oh, so it's an island. Okay. Ah, our friend of Eorzea. We have been expecting you. You and yours will lead the mission into the tower, I'm told. The warding scales will be delivered soon. Till then, please stand by at the boat we have readied. When your fellows arrive, I will direct them to join you. We pray for your safety and success. If this is the future of Aetheryte travel, I think I'll stick to boats. Aye, no warning, however emphatic, could have prepared me for that. On account of which we are a little late, but fighting fit, mostly. My friends, permit me to thank you for accepting this mission. You must be... we should still call you Varshan, I suppose? Indeed, it would not do to confuse our soldiers. Very well then. For our part, we are humbled that you should see fit to entrust us with your warding scales. Please convey as much to His Excellency. One for each of you. Please accept them with my blessings. Our thanks. With these, we can go anywhere those with the blessing of light can go. Not only for this operation either, but all the ones to come. We can finally break your monopoly on primals. I've been waiting for this day. I wouldn't mind carrying on as before, you know. In that case, they're all yours from now. I have been waiting for this day. So have we, my friend. So have we. If everyone is amenable to it, let us review the strategy for good measure. As previously agreed, we will divide into two groups. Sagasite and her band will break through the tower's defenses and locate its core. Meanwhile, the rest of us will tend to the prisoners, who will doubtless want for healing due to the duress of repeated summoning. The primals with which the tower bringeth forth shall be deities of Thavnairian myth. As we have no prior experience with such foes, pray exercise the utmost caution when confronting them. We commence the operation at your word, my friend. For the people of Thavnair, nay, the entire world, we must prevail. Dungeon time, dungeon time, dungeon time, dungeon time, dungeon time. Ooh, and I can use trust, which I shall, because it's easier this way. Let's go. Ooh, new dungeon music, everything. The Tower of Zot. It has Final Fantasy IV music. I'm happy. Oh, Nethana. Minduruva. Mindy. New music! That was a fun fight! So the soldiers are becoming monster-like. What the f*** is that? Sandruva. boss time. New music too, probably. No matter the cost, we must protect the tower. Mhigo's sisters, Harbigan's elect. Okay, Cinderuba. Cindy. Let's go. The Delta Triangle. Whew. Level up. From what I can tell, the summons appear to be over. No belief is sacred at this Telephoroi. They were nimble fighters, I'll give them that. That seems to have been the limit of the tower's defenses. Cutscene, probably.
Is everyone all right?
We fortified the captives with what magics we could. Have the defenses been disabled? All appears quiet for the moment.
Lower floors were disturbing enough, but this place feels wrong. The ether is heavy and thick, like wading through a quagmire.
I believe we stand in the tower's beating heart. What sayest thou, Stola?
I see it. Ether siphoned from the land runs up through the spire, flowing to a single point. This is the core we seek. Yet something is off. As large as this structure is, it siphons far more ether than is required to sustain it. 'Tis as if the core is feeding on the energy, consuming it. I need to take a closer look. Curious. There is something there embedded inside the core. A man's limb.
This is what we came to destroy?
Yes, if you would be so kind.
Okay, what?
And that should be the end of it.
Nope.
What now?
My theory that the tower might come crashing down following the core's destruction doth appear to be correct.
Bully for you! And how are we supposed to survive the fall?
What of the prisoners below?
The floor beneath our very feet dissolves. Brace yourselves!
I pray I'm not too late.
Oh, what happened? Where are we?
By my reckoning, we're still on the island where the tower stood, but 'tis as if it never existed. Hardly a scratch. But how?
Graha wove a levitation spell at the last moment. Large enough to catch everyone, it would seem.
Where's Nithana? Oh, there she is.
That explains the lack of obvious injuries.
The expenditure of so much ether has taken its toll. You will need plenty of rest, but should otherwise be none the worse for wear.
Then the immediate problem is what to do with our new friends here. They'll be much changed for their time in the tower. Even if their bodies are intact, I doubt we could say the same for their minds.
Angelo and I will take care of that.
I have every faith in you, Alize, but there are just too many for you to treat alone.
We'll send at once to Eorzea for more porksies, and call on the local mages to lend a hand.
Hail, scions! We were watching the tower when it simply disappeared. What happened here?
The threat is banished, and thy people delivered. They are, however, in need of treatment, and we of a secure locale and helping hands to assist us in its provision.
You shall have all this and more. Come, let us convey these unfortunate souls to the city.
How are 4 people gonna carry all those matangas? The tower is no more. Whew. Carrying all those matanga may have been the true struggle. The liberated prisoners are being transported to the rats at hand for treatment. Alice and Ishtola will oversee the administration of the tempering treatment with support from those who know a healing spell or two. We'll go and join them in the city once you have had a moment to catch your breath. Had enough rest, have you? You never were one for being idle. Right. Varshan bade us come to the Megaduta at our earliest convenience. The others will join us there once they have finished tending to the prisoners. Oh wait, on second thought, you and Estinian should go on ahead. I need to make a quick detour by the Great Work. We left Graha in the alchemist's care, you see. Best to fetch him before he's crammed into a specimen jar. Just you and me then. The guardsman at the gate should wave us through. With the tower gone, I expect that the state of alert will be lifted. Ah, Honored Science, you are free to enter at your leisure. As I cannot leave my post, I'm afraid you must make your own way. Should you require directions in the city, the sentry stationed at the fountain atop the steps should be glad to assist you. Though I have been to Rats at Hand before, this place is a veritable maze. Rather than risk getting lost, we had best ask for directions from this sentry at the fountain. Either way, and don't expect me to ask as your tour guide like certain others. Ah, Mr. Sagasite, I presume. I understand you are here for an audience with the satrap. If you require directions to Megaduta, I should be glad to provide them. The satrap's residence is situated in Dharma, the highest part of Vrtra. To get there, I would ordinarily recommend a route that takes you by the bazaars in the city's north. Due to the state of alert, however, most businesses are currently closed and the Aetheryte disabled. As such, I will provide you with an alternate path. First, please ascend the steps next to this fountain, then continue left. There will be more steps, and upon ascending them, you will emerge on Paxa's path. Proceed through the large door on the right, and you will arrive at Rubeida Fivers. Within, you will find another sentry who will give you further guidance. In other words, we head up. Sounds straightforward enough? Heading to Megaduta, are you? In that case, please follow this hallway to my right and go through the door at the top of the stairs. You will emerge at the entrance to the airship landing, where another sentry should be on hand to assist you. Incidentally, if you ascend the steps to either side of me, you will find the workshops of Rubeida Fivers. Though you're free to observe the artisans, take care not to lose your way. Ah, Thavnairian weave. Hard to imagine more vibrant stuff. I dare say Emeric would be partial to the gold thread, and the blue, of course. He loves his blue. I have never put much thought into what I wear. A spare set of clothing is usually all I carry, and if that isn't enough, I can always obtain something locally. Am I lost? Kinda think I am. If you're here for an airship, I'm afraid all flights have been suspended until further notice, so the state of alert is still in effect. Perhaps it's for the best. That aside, we're not here for an airship, we have business at Megaduta. Oh, in that case, permit me to direct you. From here, it's quite simple really, ascend its steps and then continue straight ahead and cross the bridge. You cannot miss it. Ah, I remember passing by here with Barshan. The situation being as it was, he regretted not being able to show us the sights. Life has yet to return to normal here, but when it does, you ought to pay another visit. Though the city is confusing, the food is quite good. I'm partial to Hamsa myself. The meat's surprisingly tender and flavorful. Squawk, squawk. Poor Hamsa. I wonder what the daytime music is over here. Must be very, very good. Greetings and welcome to Megaduta. May I inquire after your business? We are members of the Science of the Seventh Dawn and come at the invitation of His Excellency. Ah, of course, we have been expecting you. I will show you into the audience chamber, if you would please follow me.
Are we the last to arrive? I hope we've not kept you waiting.
Not at all. Your comrade is feeling better, I trust.
Much better, thank you. Harness remedies are certainly potent, in more ways than one.
One becomes accustomed to the taste, although I hope you never have cause to do so. Pray take your ease.
Even in Final Fantasy, medicine tastes bad.
Full glad I am to see you all unharmed.
Thanks to you, buddy.
Valiant scions, for your heroism, you have my boundless gratitude. You cast down that dire tower and set free its hapless captives. You cleanse their souls of its corrupting influence. No words of thanks will suffice. In place of platitudes, I offer a bounty of warding scales. Pray accept your due reward, along with the goodwill of Vrtra.
Alchemists throughout the land were put to work in the forging of your talismans. The finished ones have been collected, and now await you at the High Crucible of Alchemia. Present this letter when you are ready to take them into your possession.
We are humbled by your generosity. Know that the inventive wisdom of Vrtra will be vital in restoring serenity to our star.
Every single one of those scales came from you, didn't they? You must still be in such pain.
Ow.
'Tis of no moment. A mere annoyance compared to the dreadful suffering inflicted upon this land and its people.
Albeit brief, my involvement in the Dragonsong War afforded me a glimpse of the myriad sorrows which consumed both dragon and man. And yet, you chose to live among men.
In the age when that conflict first bloomed, my choice had already been made. In some distant place, man slew dragon, and dragon slaughtered man. Yet no hate could I muster for those smiling faces which did look to me for guidance. Not even my brother's righteous rage could rally me to his cause. I huddled here, secret and still, hoping against hope that which I had built would remain untouched by the chaos and carnage.
Twould seem we share the same desire for peace, great Vrtra. To that end, I wonder if we might trouble you with another question.
A little hard to pronounce Vrtra. Vrtra is easier, but it's actually Vrtra.
The
Dragon
Tavnair
names.
are intent on recreating the final days, an apocalyptic event which we know to predate the sundering of the star. As the longest lived among us, know you aught of this terrible cataclysm?
That far back?
Nay. When war and strife drove my sire from his home, he crossed the great expanse with only our unhatched eggs as company.
Yes, as far as I remember from the book, when Midgardsormr came to Eorzea or to Hydaelyn or to this world, he made a pact with Hydaelyn, which meant Hydaelyn was a thing. And he went to Silver Tear, so the sundering had already happened.
He alighted upon a shattered source, its 13 reflections long since scattered beyond the rift.
Yeah, that event predates dragons.
Of events preceding his arrival, he knoweth naught, save that which Hydaelyn hath deigned to disclose.
And your information isn't too reliable.
I see. So again, 'tis the inscrutable Hydaelyn to whom you must look for answers.
Yeah, but the thing is, like the Warrior of Light had the option to say to Hydaelyn in one of the first cutscenes of the expansion, we cannot trust her. Can we?
You to divine the will of this star. If so, I have a tale which may afford you some small comfort. 'Tis a story from my youth, many, many years ago. To my sire, I once posed the question, of all the stars in the sky, why didst thou settle upon this one? To which Midgardsormr did reply. 'Twas the last bastion of hope. He believed so long as Hydaelyn endured, so too might dragonkind. Solemn and portentous were his words. What deeper meaning they held, I could not, dared not pursue. 'Tis a stone I've left unturned ever since. Yet take you solace in the knowledge that whatsoever Hydaelyn does strive towards, 'tis an ideal which hath earned my sire's conviction.
This is interesting because we are made to doubt Hydaelyn. Even though she presents to us and say, "Hey, I'm cool, I'm Hydaelyn, I'm the light. Hey, here, take this flower, it will help you in your journey." But there's so much we don't know.
Thank you, Vrtra. You've given us warm reassurance in a world gripped by cold uncertainty.
While I'm sure we all have a great many questions, I think it's time we collect the talismans and be on our way. Our fight against the Telophoroi is far from finished.
We must take our leave, but please do inform us if we can provide any further assistance.
Prithee, a moment. There is one whom my sire hath judged worthy of honor and respect. The one known to men as Eorzea's champion. This hero of renown and rumor, 'tis thee.
Yeah, I am. Midgardsormr and I have crossed paths, yes. I only wish he could be here with us now. I only wish he could be here with us now.
I know of his clash with Omega, and the long slumber which was his price. Yet even closed in sleep, my father's eyes are far from blind. He is watching over thee, watching over this world. 'Twas a revelation most pleasing that thou, a child of man, had gained Midgardsormr's trust, but alongside mine elation runneth a rivulet of dread. For upon thy life's reel wind too many threads of fate, power, weal enmeshed with woe. Amidst this tangled knot thou shalt know no rest. 'Tis an endless confluence of forces, a struggle without surcease. More terrible still is the attrition wrought upon thy companions, as they are swept up in the storm of thine existence.
Harsh.
Take heart and protect them well. They will be your strength and your salvation. The hope thou wilt need come the end.
I love Villar cool. I was a lot of him for a while.
Behind my curtain, I know the suffering of the powerful. I have watched my siblings driven mad by loss. Thus do I exhort thee to spare no effort to keep thy loved ones safe.
Apologies. We hadn't meant to interrupt.
How did you not know you were interrupting?
It's just that we do have a history of suddenly collapsing, and when you didn't follow us out...
Tis I must apologize. I have detained your champion overlong with idle chatter. Go. At war's end, I pray I welcome thee back into my hall, where together with thy joyful comrades, you may toast your triumph.
Oh, finally daylight. Our apologies again. I hope it didn't force you to conclude your conversation prematurely. So, what were you and Vrtra talking about? Roxy. Nothing? Very well, if you say so. The others have gone ahead to the High Crucible. Let's catch up to them. I can stop at read Crucible and think of Shax. The attendant was kind enough to give me directions to the High Crucible. First, let us return to the Mulberry Orchard. I understand the mulberries are for the silkworms. Grown a stone's throw away from the satrap's residence, it gives it the quintessential Thavnairian flair, don't you think? From here, we're supposed to follow the path left and past the mulberries. The word Juch apparently means bind in the local tongue, and this district is so named because it connects all others in the city. If we manage to come this far, we shouldn't have trouble finding the High Crucible, or so I was told. Where the street turns, enter the door straight ahead and then descend the steps. I thought the Crystarium was confusing, but it doesn't compare to Ratzat Han. The architecture and decorations make it even harder to get your bearings. Anyway, let's see where this door takes us. It was to be expected, to be honest. Oh, the Aetheryte, excuse me. First, before I forget. Phew, it seems we're on the right track. And here is the Aetheryte Plaza. So far so good, and there isn't much further to go. From here we just need to cross to the other side of the hall, then pass through the larger of two doorways. The High Crucible lies beyond. I suspect the others have already collected the warding scales. Come, let us join them. Oh, Urianger and Tancred. Though this land hath been afforded a respite, in turmoil do many others languish still. Our work is far from finished. You took your time, got turned around, I take it? Wow. Excellent, you're in time to hear the latest good news. The students have previously turned to Ratzat Han's alchemist for help with the analysis of various artifacts. That is how I became acquainted with Nidhana. I'm glad we could rescue her, and pray she makes a full recovery. I'm quite well now, I assure you. As they say, the stronger the taste, and stranger the color, the more effective the remedy. With my body trying to replenish the ether I spent, however, I'm feeling rather famished. I think a sampling of the local delicacies is in order. Hamsa cuisine would be a good place to start, perhaps? As I heard it, after you defeated Nidhogg, his scales found their way into the hands of the firmament's artisans. Steeped in power as they are, it's no surprise that they were coveted. Still, it is strange legacy for the vengeful worm. What an immense laboratory! How many such places were enlisted to help forge the warding scales, I wonder? We're last, of course, but at least we found the place.
These are the talismans we were promised.
Yes, and I made a quick count. There are far more than we could have hoped for. Enough to outfit an entire company of soldiers, in fact. Considering the involved process, that they were able to manufacture so many in such a short span of time is nothing short of a miracle.
Once we have distributed them to our allies in Eorzea and the Far East, we'll have a fighting chance to bring down the other spires. just as we did with the Tower of Zot.
Or we could use them to invade Garlemald proper, and strike directly at the Telophoroid's base of operations.
Bold.
Of course, we would need to consult with various Alliance leaders before such a drastic measure could even be contemplated. To which end, I could set out forthwith and present the idea to each of our allies in person.
Pray allow me to undertake some few of those journeys. I find myself restless and in need of purposeful duties.
I can head eastward. Eorzea and Dalmasca are just a short hop from here. And Doma's shinobi network should come in handy for passing on the word.
Man, we're bringing everyone.
We shall share the burden then. Talismans back to the Baldessian Annex. We must keep them safe and secure until we've decided upon a course of action.
Please, I must speak with you.
Nidana! Hello.
Nidana? You're awake?
No.
Yes. When I spoke with the carer at my bedside, she told me that one of the Scions, a young woman, had cleansed me of the Tower's corruption. It seems I'd been asleep ever since the treatment. But when I awoke and learned you were all still here, I knew I had to come. As you said,
Elephant Mom.
me recently.
Yeah, that cutscene where he gets captured inside the Tower of Zot. It was a surprise. I knew something bad was gonna happen. I said so in the stream, something bad's gonna happen, but I didn't expect like chains coming in and that.
Such a brief exposure is swiftly cured, so I tended to her before we gathered at Megaduta. And I am truly grateful that you did. I cannot thank you enough.
No, I mean, I know. That's what I said. I knew something wrong was going to happen. Everything, the pacing, the camera work, everything was screaming. Something is going wrong. But I didn't know what. I didn't expect like chains to come out of the door and pull her inside. I was like, whoa.
All of you, for everything you've done. Destroying the tower, rescuing people. You've saved Thavnair from an awful fate.
Yet who hath truly saved whom? Due in no small part to thine inspirational courage, the alchemists were successful in reproducing warding scales of proven efficacy. Replications of thy work now stand ready to travel across the seas, unto the hands of those who might wield them against this rising evil.
The talisman? Is this true?
Yeah, Nidana, you're the hero of the hour.
I was so groggy from sleep, I didn't even think to ask. Oh, our great work sent across the seas.
I love the voice acting. I love the voice acting especially in this whole Razat Han section, Thavnair.
It was worth it. Oh, it was all worth it.
What is that? Oh, the flower.
Look at that. Its color is completely changed. How unusual. I wonder if the effect is a reaction to Akasha.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with that term.
Me neither, Kryle.
Akasha? It is one of the unseen energies defined by Harnish alchemical theory. Though a gross oversimplification, some describe it as an essence influenced by feelings.
You imply that it is distinct from ether?
Foreign scholars often conflate the two, but we see them as separate concepts. Ether is an energy which permeates the land. It exists within animals, objects, even the air we breathe, affecting all through which it flows.
The Force.
Akasha, on the other hand, exists in a domain beyond our reach. A gift bestowed from on high, or torn from the heavens in some traditions. Akasha can neither be created nor destroyed. It is beyond our power to purposefully alter or manipulate. The only thing observed to influence it is an abundance of, I want to say, spiritual emotion. As a veteran of the battlefield, surely you've experienced moments of desperation or exaltation when you've transcended the usual limits of your capabilities. That is a manifestation of Akasha, the invisible essence harnessed by heart, mind, and unyielding spirit.
I really must hear more about this theory. Our disciplines are based entirely upon the idea that ether is the fundamental form of all energy.
I'm glad my haphazard explanation has piqued your interest. But even for us, Akasha is a somewhat abstract field of study. A lack of practical application lends itself poorly to formalized research. Which is why my analysis of your flower can amount to little more than idle speculation. I am sorry.
Nonsense! You have nothing to be sorry for. Your insight is much appreciated.
Shall we depart for Sharlayan then? I will see to it that the talismans arrive at the Annex.
And we will be in touch once our talks are concluded. I suggest you rest while you can. From here onward, sleep is bound to be in short supply.
You're gonna make the little kids carry the boxes. Awesome. The last thing I remember before being absorbed into the tower was you rushing towards me. I can only imagine the hardships you and yours must have had to overcome to rescue us. No amount of words will suffice to express my gratitude, but I hope the Thor's radiant glow says everything I cannot. Old Sharlayan. Oh, Krell's here. It's good to be back, with the fruit of our labels safely in storage. For now, we have but to wait for the others to return from their respective meetings with the Alliance leaders. As Thancred suggested, you should get some rest in the meantime. Welcome back. Kryle has apprised me of your recent accomplishments. What an amazing feat to eliminate a tower and pave the way to deal with the rest. While it isn't much, I have changed your sheets and plumped up your pillow. After all, there is nothing like collapsing in a nice clean bed after completing a major milestone, be it penning a thesis or defeating they-form entities. So, would you like to take a look at your new and improved Longines now?
Take heart and protect them well.
Take out.
Good, you're here. You haven't eaten yet, have you? We've bought quite a spread if you're interested. Only the finest dining from the last stand.
That's a big hamburger. Oh, it's hot. Cool.
Lest you wonder, we invited Estinian as well. But he refused with a rather grim-faced, "No, thank you." I suspect Sharlayan cuisine is not to his liking.
Oh, I don't know about that. Perhaps our lone wolf just needed some time apart. What? To perfect his brooding stare? Next time, I'll drag him out by the ear, sit him down in front of a Sharlayan feast, and see that he eats every last bite.
An excellent idea. Of all people, warriors must take proper meals and rest if they are to maintain a healthy constitution.
Poor Estinian, beset on all sides.
Speaking of one's physical condition, Mistress Cryle, I hear you recently played literal host to Heidelin herself.
And what an experience that was. Tiring, yes, but no lasting harm done. If anything, I should have liked to speak with her longer. I've not felt a hint of her presence since.
Heidelin instructed you to carry that flower, yes? Twill be your guide, test and proof of your conviction. And then something about seeking joy in darkness, was it? Come to think of it, isn't that what happened with Nidana back in Radzat Han?
The flower did seem to radiate a joyful glow, as if reflecting the elation we all felt, the relief of a people with renewed hope.
Indeed, and in turn I felt buoyed by that radiance. 'Twas akin to spotting a beacon and knowing we were on the right path. I know we've not yet triumphed over the Telophoroi, or learned the full breadth of the Forum's plans. But even within the midst of our struggles, we find small moments of joy to sustain us. Rare and hard-won perhaps, but it is this pursuit of happiness that gives us the strength to carry on day after day. Hey, that's mine.
To the swift the spoils. Though I recall that levitation spell of yours was quick enough.
Only barely. And even at my best, I'm still too slow to wield it effectively in battle. Mayhap I simply require more practice with this new magic.
You unearthed it from the depths of Numenon, I presume?
Aye, and from a veritable mountain of arcane tomes at that. 'Twas necessary to facilitate my solitary explorations.
Or To put it simply, you used it to sneak around the forbidden archives.
Yes. Well, after a fashion. They're tall, you see. The shelves, they're too tall for me. And I could hardly move the library's platforms without attracting attention now, could I?
That donut. Don't leave that donut. Or give it to me. Donuts. Are we pushing on until dawn? Shall we call it a night? You do know these are my quarters.
I'm not that ambitious. But 'tis pleasant to idle away the hours every once in a while.
Oh, Zenos. Hello.
Ah! Enjoying the bracing cold, I see. Do you not own a warm coat or a cloak? Something in fur? Or fashioned from the skins of your enemies? Or... well, never mind that.
That's Hammond's voice. We're gonna have to keep jumping between Asahi and Ammon's voice for Fandaniel from now on.
I come to you once more as the bearer of bad news. Our tower in Thavnair has been toppled, and I need not tell you by whom. Given how many we have at our disposal, the loss of a single spire is hardly fatal to our plans. It does, however, slow the rate at which we siphon ether. If they continue to preoccupy themselves with the towers, then all will be well. But should our foe prove bold enough to strike at us here, then the timing becomes questionable.
Our foe is bold enough. Of that, I can assure you.
Yes, very well then. I suppose I must prepare a proper welcome. Honestly, talk of your nemesis is the only thing you seem to enjoy. Does nothing else spark your interest?
No. All else is... equal. Equally tedious. Equally disappointing. The world is a tepid bog into which we sink, too weak to thrash as the mud clings to our eyes and fills our throats till we blissfully choke.
He has a way with words. That much I can give him.
But then came the light. Blinding and pure and hot. So very hot. Enough to set my soul aflame.
There's gonna be a lot of people happy with these lines.
I basked in the afterglow until the void yawned once more. And then I knew the muck would never claim me again. There was naught for me ahead, so I drew the curtain on all that had come before. Burn. Let the whole star burn. I will have my contest. I will reclaim my moment.
How wonderful that the emptiness of death has not dissuaded you from committing your life to its pursuit once more. I don't know whether to envy you or pity you.
You question my disinterest, but what of yours? Despite your noisome antics, I sense you take little pleasure in this endeavor.
Mercy, my lord. Such pointed barbs from one who barely acknowledges my existence. Nevertheless, you are mistaken. For I do find this part somewhat enjoyable. You see, when I was mortal, I would always have the same dream. It was a fragmented thing, disjointed, all the faces incomplete. The setting, too, was unknown to me, so I thought it simply a fantasy of my sleeping mind. Until one day, I realized it was showing me the truth. Much as your dream of the final days enlightened you. And soon, very soon, the rest of the world will see the truth of my dream, too. Yes, I think that is something we can both enjoy.
That's right. I hope you didn't mind us barging into your room for our late-night feast. For what it's worth, it did me a world of good to put our troubles to one side, if only for a moment. Oh, there you are. Feeling refreshed, I hope? I was about to make my way to the studio, as it happens. I wanted to try and speak with Scholar Montishane and thank him for coming to our rescue in the Vrtra. As it turns out, he would come here to see us following the hearing, only to find that we had already departed for Thavnair. Knowing him, he was probably hoping to chew the cud with his former students. Since we're still waiting for Ishtola and the others, I thought now the perfect time to pay him a visit. Care to join me? Then it's settled. The twins will be coming too, assuming Alphino can tear himself away from his new toys. I'll let you rally the troops while I go ahead to Phenomenon. Considering my recent impropriety, perhaps I should avoid showing my face around the studio for a time. That might be for the best. If the others should return, tell them we will not be long. Oh. If Father can master these fiendish contraptions, then so can I. Heading out for a stroll? The Scholarch himself was here. In that case, what are we waiting for? I too am eager to see him, though I somewhat dread the thought of visiting the studio. I dare say our notoriety precedes us. Alphino of all people worrying over his reputation. And at our alma mater, no less. Will wonders never cease? You'll understand soon enough. Off we go. Inside. It feels like only yesterday that I first walked through these doors. See that sculpted picture above the entrance? That's the mark of Thaliak, the scholar, bearer of the waters of knowledge. It's no exaggeration to say that Charlayan itself is one enormous shrine to him, and that's especially noticeable here in the studio. Here it is, Phenomenon. While I expect you to make note of it before, one can hardly miss it. This is the first time you have been here on official business, correct? While most of the space is taken up by the expansive auditoriums, it also houses numerous laboratories, testing grounds for experimental magics, and a host of administrative offices and so forth. As the center of what would later become the studio, it was established to promote the study of ethereological phenomena, hence the name. Though with ether being a fundamental aspect of nature, its scope expanded to include every conceivable facet of life and even the universe itself. And then, in the 432nd year of the 6th Astral Era, Phenomenon was decreed complete, and the studium officially opened as a place of learning. With a long storied history, it is without question the world's leading authority in etherology, the arcane, the occult, astromancy, and countless other fields, standing proud as Shalea's foremost educational institute. You always did enjoy giving the grand tour to the new students. Indeed, I have long since lost track of how many times he has recited that same foppish speech. Such is his undying love for his old stamping ground. He was in top form back then, youngest to enter the studium, graduated with highest honors in magical arts and etherology, undisputed champion of the debating chamber. Hold on, you both joined the studium at the same age, yes? And from where I stand, you're equally prodigious scholars. Nice of you to say, but Alphino actually entered half a year before me. Nor did I do well enough to graduate with honors, and I am certainly not the studium's most notorious master debater. In all respects have I ever been in his shadow. If nothing else, just remember that this was where the legend of Alphino Levelio began. We should expect everyone to be fully aware of our recent escapades. Hopefully, we'll be somewhat more welcome here than we were at the last stand. I know better than anyone the adoration the student body has for Alphino, and with a bit of luck, it might work to our advantage. Well, there's no time like the present. Present first, let's look for a Scholar Montichange. Other faculty tend to frequent their offices, but unfortunately for us, he's fond of wandering wheresoever his whims take him. Let's split up and ask the students if they have seen him. That was Alphino Levelio, wasn't it? The Alphino Levelio. And he's with his sister and Master Valdesian's granddaughter. This can only mean one thing. An event of epoch-shattering proportions is fast approaching. Spread the word! Oh, sorry, you said you're looking for the Scholarch, yes? Knowing him, he could be anywhere, but Miss Alia Po should have a better idea. Alia Po? Alia Po? Phenomenon is something of a multi-purpose facility, used by lecturers and craftsmen alike. If you're looking for learners' meet, it's through the last door on the left. Things were bad enough during our school days, and Alphino's time abroad has only heightened his fame. Or should that be infamy? He had his rivals and detractors, of course, though most of them gave that up after his adoring fans set upon them like ravenous dogs. Alphino, on the other hand, never paid them much notice. They were simply beneath him. Oh dear. I assure you, I'll tell you all about it after my business with the Scholarch has been concluded. The Scholarch? Tell me, my good fellow, does this have something to do with saving the world from catastrophe? Might we turn out our attention to Master Levelio's graduation thesis? I too have my doubts regarding our policy of non-intervention. Is it true that your experiences overseas are the reason you have incurred the ire of the Forum? Oh, what I wouldn't give to see you butt heads with those old codgers. Here. Alia Po is the name of the little kittens. So I'm about to be their parents? Are you lost? Wandering off the street perhaps? Wait, don't tell me. You're a trainee gleaner fresh off the guild ship. I'm right, aren't I? Oh, how silly of me. An orientation is in order. Allow me to bid you a warm welcome to Search's Meet. Let me start with a question. What is the most important thing you'll find in the studium? That's right, books. And what's the second most important? Why, that's simple. Everything else. That's what we deal in here at Search's Meet. Whenever the students or tutors find themselves in need of equipment or materials, they come to us. If we don't have it in our stores, we send the cleaners off to find it. Honestly, you wouldn't believe some of the requests we get. Eye of Pice at this, tongue of Giganto that. It's enough to make your hair stand on end, which is possibly what some of our students are trying to accomplish, this being a school of magic and all. As our newest cleaner, you'll have your work cut out for you, but I think you'll find it quite rewarding. I'm not a gleaner. The only thing I'm interested in gleaning is information on the Skolark's whereabouts. I have tracked down many miscellaneous knickknacks in my time, but I'm no gleaner. I beg your pudding? You're not a gleaner? And this was all an elaborate ruse? No, wait, come to think of it, you have never actually claimed to be one in the first place. My mistake. He was here, but now he's not. I did speak with him shortly before you arrived though. He said he was on his way to make us meet. Go back the way you came in and you'll see it on the opposite side of the entrance. It's a laboratory of sorts, home to many rare and expensive curios, not to mention alarmingly frequent accidents. If you lose your way, just follow the blood-curdling screams. Ha! In the time it's taken me to tell you all of this, the Skolark has probably already left. Best of luck finding him. I have a feeling you'll need it. Is she a sister for the little Aliapokitans? Yes, the Skolark was here a short while ago. He offered me advice on my current research project. Though we spoke at length, I don't recall him mentioning where he was planning to go next. When we parted ways, he went down the corridor, perhaps to one of the auditoriums. Bunnies! Monty Shane.
Ah, I remember you.
I pray we have not caught you at an inopportune moment. We wanted to offer our thanks for your kind words in the forum.
Well, I could hardly let that inquisition go unchallenged. I've always believed that curiosity should be nurtured, not stifled. Thankfully, a majority of my colleagues agreed. A slender majority, aye, but a majority nonetheless.
Had the vote not gone our way, we would be having a very different conversation, if any at all. Though I'd like to think you would have not given up on our cause. I'm told you paid a visit to the Annex afterwards.
Yes, that's right. I was hoping to speak with the grandchildren of my dearly departed friends Galuf and Louisoix in a less dour setting. But it seems I just missed you. I still can't believe how much you've grown. If only your grandsires could have seen the way you presented yourselves to the Forum. Why, it fair brought a tear to my own eye. You must have the patience of a saint, putting up with this lot and their antics. Never mind Matoya's prize student. Luckily, I know a thing or two about managing unruly younglings. If you ever need advice, don't hesitate to ask.
If I may, there is a rather more pressing matter we wish to discuss. What can you tell us of this duty that the Forum must fulfill?
Oh, he's not going to tell you that.
Nothing, I'm afraid. Like all humble servants of the Forum, I am sworn to secrecy.
Obviously.
Or rather, I couldn't tell you if I tried.
I want to know about this.
Our duty is of the gravest importance. Furthermore, if the particulars were made public, it would incite widespread panic. As such, those entrusted with this duty have been bound by an enchantment.
Oh, okay.
Which prevents us from speaking of such matters without the express permission of the Forum.
Well, okay, that explains it.
How is that even possible?
It's been some time since I last gave a lecture. Please, take a seat.
Chop chop to class.
We shall begin by reviewing the fundamentals of etherology. The ether, which imbues us with life, can be categorized into 3 forms. 2 are of the incorporeal sort, the soul, and the memory. Can anyone tell me the third?
Magic. Corporeal ether.
Yes, very good. This is the form with which the layman is most familiar. Consumed by even the simplest of daily activities, and replenished by the food and drink that sustain us, this form of ether is in constant flux. In contrast, the ether that comprises the soul is rarely subject to dramatic change. The same can be said for memory, as the two are intrinsically linked. Picture the soul as paper, and memories as words written upon it.
Welcome to the what?
Now, what would happen if that paper was doused with ink? The same type of ether as comprises the memories.
It would blot out everything that was written.
Precisely. We would be unable to recall the memories, and any activities that depend upon them would be hindered as well. In fact, this exact phenomenon was observed on a vast scale not so long ago. And what might that have been?
The 7th Umbral Calamity. The people of Eorzea vividly recall Bahamut breaking free of the Lesser Moon and raining hellfire down upon the realm. But no one could seem to remember the events that followed immediately afterwards.
Indeed. To this day, we have yet to determine whether it was an unintended consequence or a deliberate act. The enchantment which binds me and the rest of the Forum is based on a similar principle. And yes, it is a contravention of the Sharlayan prohibition against the practice of memory manipulation. Only when a new member is inducted and told of our great duty are they subjected to the process. A necessary evil. You have my word that it would never be used to manipulate the populace.
But it's been used to manipulate the populace, because the populace is not being told what to do, they're being forced to do things without knowing why. They're manipulating everyone.
I should hope not. But can this enchantment be dispelled and your memories restored?
If 9/10 of our members give their approval, then the process may be reversed. Then, and only then, would we be able to speak freely to others of our sacred duty. Barring that, we must wait until we return to the ethereal sea. For there we will be purified, the blots upon our souls washed clean. And our memories drift apart and dissolve. Rather defeating the purpose, I suppose. But There are those memories that are indelibly etched upon our souls, some believe.
What happens after that?
We are reduced to pure ether, coalesce with that of others, and create souls anew. Alternative schools of thought assert souls remain whole and return to the corporeal world, reborn into another form.
Which is kind of what Vrtra believed or explained back in 2 point something.
Both theories have their proponents. Personally, I consider each equally probable. Well, I think that's enough education for today, now that I've given you some food for thought. Or rather, an entire banquet. I would remind you that although I'm unable to assist you with certain matters, the resources at my disposal may still be of use to you. I'll arrange for you all to be given the run of Phenomenon. Of course, as associate to our alumni and the students of Baldesion, this privilege is extended to you as well, my friend. Oh, and I suggest you speak with Ki Aliapo. She's well known among the artisans of Sharlayan, and her network of contacts may prove useful in your search for knowledge. I wish you all the best in your pursuits, wheresoever they may take you.
I wasn't creepy at all. While Scholarch Montishane is best known for his role as head of the studio, he is said to be one of the finest mages Sharlayan has ever produced. Having seen for myself the ease with which he weaves extraordinarily complex and powerful magics, I have no reason to doubt the claim. Some of my earliest memories of the scholar Montishane, actually, he was a close friend of our grandfather. He would come for tea and amaze us with his tricks, much like his demonstration with the paper and ink. He is a huge part of why I wanted to enter the studium in the first place. Well, that's giving me much to mull over. I feel as though we're one step closer to understanding the forum's true motives and the mysteries of life itself, for good measure. It's funny, I came here with the intent of expressing my gratitude, only to leave more indebted than before. I have a feeling his friendship and support will be a great boon to us in days to come. And on that note, let's head back to the Annex. Perhaps on the way, you could better acquaint yourself with Qui Aliapo and the scholars, as the Scholarch suggested, while I share our findings with Raha. Lots of people to talk to. Hestilin returned not long after we had departed for the studium, ashamed that he missed the chance to attend our lecture with the Scholarch, or perhaps not. Having spent most of my time in Thavnair, I have yet to fully grasp the lie of the land here in Sharlayan. Even finding my way to the Annex proved a challenge. You had better not let your guard down around Ki. One small favor becomes another, then another, and before you know it, you'll be running to the other side of the world in search of a bottle of wine or some other rubbish. Then again, it might make for a welcome change of pace from your usual heroics, and as the Scholarch said, it could also lead to interesting discoveries. It seems I have done an adequate job of relaying Scholar Montishane's lecture to Raha. Given his experiences in the field of souls and memories, he had no trouble understanding it. Welcome back. From what I hear, your trip to the studium proved most educational. While you were away, I received word from our fellow Science. As expected, news of the Warding Scales was met with much joy. Preparations are now underway to bring the leadership of the Grand Company of Eorzea and the Eorzean Alliance together to determine a way forward. Our friends have asked that we bring the scales in our possession to Lim Salomitsa. So the time has come for us to go on the offensive. It's too early to say for certain, but that does seem to be the way the winds are blowing. I, for one, can think of no reason to oppose such a plan, but let us see what awaits us in Vilbrand. Let's start by getting the scales out of storage. Give me a hand, would you, Estinian? Phew, I didn't realize these crates were so heavy. You're wonderful. I shouldn't complain though. Vrtra and the alchemists of the Great Work put their heart and soul into each and every one of these scales, so you must treat them with the utmost care. Are you not coming with us? As much as I would like to escape the forum's watchful gaze, I have little choice but to stay behind. We are already on thin ice, and if I, in my capacity as our official representative, were found to be consulting with foreign powers, well, you can imagine how that would go. I shall remain here, and do my utmost to avoid ruffling any more feathers as I await word from Master Matoya and our other allies. With luck, we'll soon have good news of our own to share. The tide is about to turn, I can feel it, to Limsa Lominsa. One cool little detail about Kryl that I hadn't noticed until, well, recently, when they take her hood off. She's sporting the same haircut that Kryl from Final Fantasy V does. I just think it's a neat little detail. Okay, Limsa Lominsa, lower decks, Limsa Lominsa. Always a lot of people in Limsa. Ah, I was told to expect you. As you may or may not be aware, the Admiral is at present entertaining the Elder Sitzir and the Sultana, 3 of the most powerful women in the world in one room. Do you need a moment to prepare, or shall I show you to them? Proceed to the command room? Yes. Oh yes. My apologies for calling you away from Sharlayan at such short notice. On the contrary, we are honored and grateful, and pleasantly surprised to be joined by such esteemed company. It was only right that this discussion be conducted in person. We are locked in a war of attrition. Our forces struggle to contain the threat posed by the towers. It is only a matter of time before we are overwhelmed. Victory will only be claimed through decisive action, and we have taken the initiative to set the wheels in motion. It is reassuring to learn we are all in accord. But might I ask what your plan entails? It hinges entirely on the warding scales and our ability to utilize their potential to the fullest. During your time in Sharlayan, the allied nations have been engaged on separate fronts with no end in sight. To make matters worse, a surge in abductions of kobolds, Sahagin, Ixal, and Ananta have given rise to an increasing number of primals as well. But your triumph in Ratzat Han has given us cause for hope once more. The time has come to free ourselves of this menace. And it is you, the Science of the Seventh Dawn, who has shown us the way. While the bulk of our forces will continue to hold the Telophoroi at bay, we will dispatch our finest to strike at the enemy's heart, Garlemald. This brave few will be the Ilsabard Contingent. To think such progress has been made in so short a span. Its objectives are twofold. The first is to provide aid to the people of Garlemald. As previously reported, countless Imperial soldiers and civilians have been tempered, robbed of their free will. They serve the Telophoroi's every whim without question. They too are victims. It is our duty to deliver them from their suffering, not for a strategic or political gain, but because it is the right thing to do. I do not ask that we set aside the decades of conflict and conquest, that we simply choose to forgive and forget. I ask only that in choosing to remember, we do not also forsake our compassion and morality, for without that, there can be no reconciliation, only death without end. On that we can all agree. Our second objective is the colossal tower that Thancred and Urianger observed in the capital. Though its purpose remains unclear, there is reason to believe the smaller spires are merely a precursor of what's yet to come. Until the Tower of Zot was toppled, we had failed to make any headway, though the same could be said of the Telophoroi. They're certainly in no rush to press further into our lands. I would wager the spire's primary purpose is to divide and keep us occupied, while they work towards our annihilation. This would appear to be substantiated by Y'shtola's analysis of the tower's influence on ethereal currents. Based on her observations inside the Tower of Zot, the spires siphon ether from the land, consuming it to maintain their form. However, they draw forth far more than is required for this task alone. The excess of ether remains unaccounted for, but we can be sure it is not being harnessed for our benefit. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if it was being redirected to the larger spire in the capital. There's a logic in that. Regardless, once we have uncovered the truth, we'll bring their schemes crashing down, along with their infernal towers. That's all well and good. But what would you have us do? I assume it's more than handing over the scales and being on our way. We want you and your scales to join the Ilsabard Contingent. Consider it as an official request from both the Grand Company of Eorzea and the Eorzean Alliance. Do you accept? Perhaps you should be the one to answer that. For honor and glory, for the people of Garlemald, for revenge against the Telophoroi. Couldn't have put it better myself. Y'shtola, Thancred and Eorzea have already pledged their support, and are on their way to meet the rest of the contingent. They were positive you would come to the same decision as they did. Luckily for all involved, their prediction was correct. Once you have delivered the warding skills to Mhigo, the contingent will embark on its journey to Ilsabard. Roban and Lord Aymeric are overseeing preparations, so I suggest you make yourself known upon arrival. Pack warm clothing, furs and the like. Without it, the cold will do you in before the Telophoroi so much as straw steel. As for us, we'll keep the enemy busy while you're gone. They're not the only ones who can create a diversion. Now go, safe in the knowledge that Eorzea will be as you left it, or better, upon your return. You know, I'm quite looking forward to seeing who's been selected for the Ilsabard contingent. I have a few people in mind. Care to make a friendly wager? I'll admit this is all rather daunting, though not quite in the way I was expecting. We'll be standing shoulder to shoulder with our alliance finest, the best of the best, the Warrior of Light and, well, me. It's silly, I know. Perhaps this is my way of distracting myself from the part I should be worried about, marching into Garlemald. I must quiz Thancred and Eorzea on the conditions we can expect in Garlemald. I know it's cold, but how cold? Will I need to keep my ears covered? They can be a bit sensitive at times. If Aymeric asks after me, say I'm getting on fine and leave it at that. Don't you dare breathe a word about the cord. But he's right there in front of you. Fancy meeting you here. I trust our mutual friend is settling into life as a scion. Collaboration never was his forte. The moment the fighting ended, off he would go, like a galley cat swept up in a strong breeze. But rest assured, he will always be there when you need him. Probably. Roban. The Wanderer's return. You have been busy, bringing down a tower and producing the keys to destroying the rest of them. You should be proud. Those warding scales of yours are what has made this whole venture possible. Will you and Lord Aymeric be leading the contingent? Regrettably, no. Our role is to organize the various delegations into a cohesive unit. Once we have sent you all off, it's back to our respective posts. We dare not neglect our duties for too long, lest our defensive efforts fall into disarray. And just between us, there was a fair amount of opposition to the formation of the Ilsabard contingent. The very suggestion that we sent out some of our finest troops behind enemy lines to render aid unto the Guardians has made me rather unpopular in certain quarters. Can't please them all. Sadly not, though I do my best. Truth be told, I would much rather be at your side, charging into the fray. Alas, I have battles of my own to fight, where words may serve me better than any blade. I hate to say it, but Lord Aymeric's struggles mirror my own. Let me see if I can... For the time being, the best we can offer you is the peace of mind from knowing Eorzea is in safe hands. As you fight the good fight in Ilsabard, I and the other commanders will do what we can to convince the naysayers that our cause is just. Thank you, both of you. We meet again. Gaius! Much has occurred since we parted ways in Werlit. From what I gather, the protective talismans you obtained led to the formation of this expeditionary force. My contribution on this occasion is but a minor one, that being the information I have shared with Maxima. For the sake of the people of Garlemald, may the fates be on your side. So you're not coming with us? Strange, I thought you would have a stake in this. I do. The Telephoroi have laid waste to my homeland and enslaved my people. But though every mote of my being cries for vengeance, I cannot be the one to deliver it. My presence alone would place the entire mission in jeopardy. I stand accused of murdering Emperor Varys and plunging Garlemald into chaos. Were I to travel with the Ilsabard Contingent, I would give my countrymen ample cause to question our motives. Conversely, those who believe me innocent may instead celebrate the return of a former legatus and attempt to raise me to a position of leadership, further destabilizing the region and complicating the contingent's mission. Whether I am branded a villain or hailed as a hero, I would only hinder your efforts. We will deliver your people from harm in your stead. I doubt they'll be pleased to see the champion of Eorzea set foot on Garlean soil. I understand, well, it is in your hands. Now, we will deliver your people from harm in your stead. For what it is worth, you have my gratitude. You and your comrades have the strength and courage to deliver my countrymen. I am certain of it. In light of Gaius' rather unique circumstances, I instead will assume the role of your guide. Though I may have defected for political reasons, my love for Garlemald endures. I will stop at nothing to protect her and her people. Well said. Might I ask you to escort our friends inside? You might even bump into an old acquaintance or two. And if I don't see you again ere you depart, may the Fury guide and protect you, all of you. The other members of the Ilsabard Contingent are gathered in the Royal Palace. I shall inform them of your arrival, so please make your way inside as soon as you're ready. Ah, the remaining members of the Scions, your friends and most of the Ilsabard Contingent await you within. Would you like me to see you through? Yes, please.
By the 12.
Hey, the Black Mages of Ul'dah.
Glad you could join us. I hope you don't mind, but we went ahead and started without you.
As you can imagine, our traveling companions were eager to become acquainted. 'Tis a rare thing indeed to see such a diverse and talented group of individuals assembled for a single purpose. We fight not only for the sake of Eorzea, but for the entire world, including the people of Garlemald. Much rides on the efforts of the Ilsabard Contingent.
Indeed, which is why I am glad to find myself in the company of many trusted comrades, yourselves included.
Lucia!
Lucia!
I have come at the behest of Lord Emmerich, who has honored me with the role of Ishgard's representative. For the good of all nations, not least my former homeland, I am determined to see this mission through to its end. We have a hard road ahead of us, but walk it we shall, together.
We too welcome this opportunity to work together once more. I have faith that, if there is a way to resolve this conflict, we will find it.
Allow me to introduce you to the rest of our company. Everyone! If I may have your attention. might I ask you to speak first?
If I must. I am Arun Senna, spokesman for the Gridanian delegation. Here on behalf of my esteemed sister, the Elder Seedseer, we shall provide support and protection to those in need during our time in Garlemald. To that end, I am joined by healers selected by the Conjurers Guild, with the Order of the Twin Adder's Finest serving as our escort. Of course, with an experienced white mage such as yourself accompanying us as well, those requiring more involved treatment will be in safe hands. Raya O sends her regards, by the way.
Awesome.
Suppose I'd better say my piece.
Wait, I know you.
The name's Sicard, in case you've forgotten. Truth be told, I'd rather you had forgotten. Any road, the Admiral asked Captain Hillfear to send his best, and for whatever reason, he picked me. Of course, if I'd refused, I'd be the laughing stock of the bloody executioners, and my reputation's taken enough of a keyhauling as it is. But more importantly, like any pirate worth his salt, I know when you're staring down a storm, you gotta trust in the commander of your ship. So if the Admiral wants us to go to Garlemald, not for plunder and glory, but for the promise of peace in our time, then that's what we'll do. Since we all know how much the Empire loves its steel, we thought we'd bring along a few smiths to make the most of it. Give them a pile of scrap and they'll cobble together anything you fancy. Of course, just like the Gridanians, we got fighters of our own. We might have come with a more constructive purpose in mind, but we're more than capable of cracking skulls, believe you me.
Well, you're certainly raring to go. But then again, so are we. The most dependable warriors of Uldar and Mhigo have assembled at the Sultana and General Aldin's behest. If Garlemald has truly fallen, then the whole place is likely to be crawling with Telophoroi. We'll need plenty of troops to clear and hold a path for others to follow. That's where we come in. Naturally, Marshal Tarapin and I will be leading from the front. It's been some time since I last saw you in your element on the battlefield. From what I've heard, you've become pretty fearsome yourself. Master Warrior? The Avatar of Destruction? With comrades like these, I know we'll succeed, no matter what awaits us. And then we might finally get a chance to enjoy a good long rest. But until then, let's give it our all.
As for Ishgard, we Temple Knights have come in force to uphold our nation's commitment to the peace and welfare of our allies. The bitter cold of Garlemald is a formidable enemy in of itself. Our experience fighting in ice and snow will prove invaluable in the days ahead. Accordingly, I have been designated commander of the Ilsabard Contingent. I will do all in my power to provide you with the leadership and guidance you require. The four high houses, House Hylinart foremost among them, have arranged for a host of machinists to join us on our mission. Their knowledge of Imperial Magitech is sure to be a great boon. They will address any problems of a technical nature, together with the smiths of Limpsa Lomitsa. There is another awaiting introduction.
Oh god, no. No.
Lord Emanolaine!
Ah, yes. Emanolaine de Forton, at your service. Though, lest there be any misunderstanding, I should stress that I've not become a fearsome warrior while you were away. Rather, far from it, actually. My brother, in his infinite wisdom, decided this would be an excellent chance to make something of myself. Oh, and fight for world peace and all that. But, should the opportunity arise for a spot of ballroom dancing, I will be your twinkle-toed gentleman of light.
The fuck? May your grateful prancing lead the way to victory. I dare say your fancy footwork may be all that stands between us and certain doom. I'm going with this one.
Huzzah! I cannot wait to regale Honoroa with my tales of daring do.
I believe that concludes introductions for the Grand Company of Eorzea. Our allies from the Eastern Alliance were due to arrive some time ago, but it would appear they have been delayed.
Would that be the shinobi of Doma?
Actually, they've been tasked with relaying messages back and forth between the various Eastern nations. According to Lord Hien, however, an equally capable company of warriors has been sent in their stead.
Out of my way, you preening fool!
Oh! Sadu hype.
Forgive us for coming late. We are the delegates of the Eastern Alliance.
Cyrena, and you've brought company.
For battle and blood we come, as the steppe is sorely lacking in both. No towers befoul our lands, so we marched on those of Doma, only to find them beyond our reach. But now our thirst for slaughter will be slaked. Quarter to the enemy! Sadu Hatun, no. We go to make peace with the Iron Men, not war.
Warriors of the Steppe, we've heard many tales of your bravery. We welcome you as allies. And these other ones you have brought are...
Members of the Dalmascan resistance group, Lente's Tears.
And the Bosnian resistance. Between them, they have a wealth of experience in espionage, and are particularly adept at infiltrating Imperial facilities. Which is fortuitous, since Garlemald's domain is so vast that I could never hope to handle reconnaissance duties all by myself.
Dalmasca, Bosnia, Mhigo. All lands which have suffered the tyranny of the Empire. I would never presume to question your motives. Nevertheless, I must reiterate that our goal is to aid the victims of the Telophoroi, the common folk of Garlemald. And they are victims, make no mistake. Though I understand that many may struggle to see them as such.
You're more right than you know. For every one of us that answered the call, there were a dozen that refused. Not only in Mhigo, but everywhere we went. And who could blame them? The Empire's always been the enemy. But after seeing what we've seen, fighting and working against and with Garleans, there's no denying the simple truth. They're just people. No different from you or I. They've got their share of liars and murderers, but so do we. So do we all. Fordola, who once swore herself to Garlemald, has proven herself a trusted ally time and time again. Every Eorzean here knows Cid Garland, the Imperial defector who shared with us countless technological wonders. Gaius bloody Balesar himself is working to help rebuild Whirlit, a nation he once conquered. So you can believe me when I say that every fighter here understands and accepts that the Imperials are not monsters and are deserving of help. Or at least that they were able to put aside their feelings for the greater good. It won't be easy. But we're all determined to make this world a better place.
What lingering concerns I may have had were clearly unwarranted. I agree with everything you said wholeheartedly.
Then we are in accord. Now, let us review our strategy. To reach the Garlean capital in northern Ilsabard, we must cross the central mountain range. Fortunately, Garlond Ironworks can provide aerial transport, sparing us this most treacherous part of our journey. However, attempting to fly any closer to Garlemald would attract the attention of the Telophoroi. As they appear to have seized control of the majority of the Imperial military, we must assume that includes its fleet. In addition, Garlemald possesses devices that can interfere with airship navigational systems, further discouraging an airborne approach.
Given the circumstances, the closest we dare deploy our contingent is an area between the range and the capital, the Magna Glaciers. From there, we must travel the rest of the way on foot. We will also need to bring the airships with us to ensure we can withdraw with haste. Although much of the terrain will be blanketed in snow, we should be able to make use of local roads and shipping facilities. The vast ice field will afford us an unobstructed view of the surrounding area. On the other hand, it will also allow others to easily spot us, so it is imperative that we only make camp in positions where we can easily defend ourselves. And the airships, which must be kept safe at all costs.
We cannot account for every possibility, so we must be prepared to think on our feet. We will be tested. Sorely tested, I expect. But for our homes and for our people, and a people not our own but in need, we will succeed. Spare no effort in your preparations. Once we depart, there is no turning back.
Ooh, lots of people to talk to. Nice. Allow me to express my deepest gratitude for your role in liberating Bosnia. Me and my countrymen owe you more than we can ever hope to pay. Now that our dream has finally been realized, but Salgen hasn't fit to send a few of us to join the expeditionary force. I hope our skills will be of use. I wonder what he says if you haven't played Bosnia. I am glad to see you well, Sagasite. Grandmother was worried for you. The night I agreed to come hither and join the contingent, the gods sent her a strange dream. 2 suns, one burning red, the other frozen black. Closer they circled, closer and closer, and as they danced the world fell to ruin. In blinding chaos she spied blackened silhouettes and knew at once that one was yours. Yet we knew not how to interpret this dream, save as a sign that great danger awaits. But whatever lies ahead, I will walk with you, traveler. I care not for the Iron Men or their troubles. It is the destiny of the weak to die in ignominy. Even so, I will do as I have agreed. I volunteer to join this band at Serena's request, and if she thinks it a worthy cause, that is reason enough. Though we hail from different tribes, our bond has grown strong of late. She is much better company on a hunt than any of the steppes oafish men could dream to be. With them all, champions of the Nadam, and the Dotharld having sent so many here, I had thought to defend the steppes in their absence, and I would have done so were it not for my step-brothers. They urged me to grant our allies the sun's might, that his radiance may deliver them unto victory. Though I must tolerate the presence of this feral Dotharli dog, as first among my brothers, I could do no less than accept this challenge. My deeds will become the stuff of legends. Keep being yourself, Macnai. I have close ties with the scouts of the Eorzean Alliance and the various resistance groups, and they're an absolute joy to work with. Blessed are we to have made countless steadfast allies over our journey's course. Indeed, we are joined today by many new acquaintances, who in time shall we come to call our comrades, or mayhap friends. I was half expecting to find the man who taught me red magic amongst our number, but he's nowhere to be seen. I suppose he has had his share of unpleasant experiences with the Empire, but so have we all. Perhaps there is some other reason. Well, in any case, I have a feeling I'll see him again once this is all over. I'm sure he'll be pleasantly surprised by how much my swordplay is improved since we last met. This is extraordinary. To be in such company, the finest our allies have to offer. With comrades such as these, we are bound to succeed, I'm certain of it. I did not expect to see the other former Azure Dragoon here of all places. As he well knows, I'm not one for verbose greetings. We shall instead let our lances do the talking once we are on the battlefield. Then we'll see if the other has been diligent in his training. We have been part of joint military operations like this before, and with far greater numbers, but for some reason this feels very different to our previous experiences. Despite having shared little more than introductions, there is already a palpable sense of camaraderie. In case you were wondering, Skiva will be staying behind to defend the 12th with my sisters. She was of the opinion that she would make a useful addition to our contingent, and was eager to make good on her vow to accompany me as well, which was flattering, but ultimately it was decided that her skills would be better put to use keeping our homeland safe. I am of course obligated to share with her every detail when I return. Greetings, Sagasite. It appears that both Thu and Thaw are needed here, and who embodies both as well as I? So for the time being, my research into ancient Nim must await. Until the Empire fell, Guardians were the only ones who was allowed to impose tariffs upon the sea. Weren't easy pickings, but I made myself a pretty gill. Since they have been so generous to me and mine, perhaps it's time I returned the favor and gave a little something back. I'm here representing the Marauders Guild, and it's my job to keep the smiths out of harm's way. Mind you, with them hammers of theirs, they can put up a fair fight themselves. With a bit of luck, this will be over and done afore you know it. Maybe when this is all over, ye could pay the Axe-Master a visit. He still tells all the new recruits about the time you killed Kujata and avenged that boy's parents. I remember it like it were yesterday. Often my father told me of the struggles faced by Mhigo in the days of the occupation, and I too have crossed swords with the Empire on many occasions. Though Garlemald has long been our bitter enemy, Her Grace has elected to bolster the Ilsabard Contingent with members of the Immortal Flames. As representatives of the Sultanate, we are one in our commitment to the cause. Kokobuki! We came as quickly as we could. We would follow your example and devastate Teleforoi with the full extent of our powers. Worry not for your brothers, Busi. We will return soon enough. Kokobusi. It seems so long ago we were sailing across the Ruby Sea and charging about the Asim Steppe with Serena and the others. I would say we're overdue for another adventure. It brings back memories to see so many familiar faces. We have been through so much together. Good times and not so good. I expect Garlemald will be mostly the latter, but I would like to believe we'll look back on these days more fondly in the years to come. But for that to happen, we'll have to make it out of this alive. Don't you die on me, aye? I'm so glad I found you. I've for you a letter from Master Hammond. Let's read it together, shall we? Now let's see here. I have every confidence that your fists shall bring the Teleforoi to their knees, and should you spy any beautiful maidens thereabouts, perhaps sing to them my praises. Charming, master. Well, more fool me for thinking that letter would contain something actually inspiring. Let's just forget this note exists and focus on the battle ahead. I cast my lot with the Popularis to bridge the divide between Garlemald and her territories, that all may be united in common cause. But we were disparaged as a radical element, dissenters looking to destabilize the Empire from within. Many friends and even my parents perished in unfortunate accidents. I too would surely have met the same fate had I not defected. Nevertheless, I still dream of equality and peace for us all, as the world itself stands on the brink of collapse. I hold out hope that one day that dream will become reality. Oh, you. Well. If I had known what a social gathering this would turn out to be, I would have dressed for the occasion. But still, this seems the perfect opportunity to mingle with the other guests. Would I be correct in assuming those ladies over yonder are Serena and Sadhu of the Steppes? Perhaps I should introduce myself, though I don't much like the look of that fellow with the enormous axe. Well met, Sagasite, well met. It would seem that my machinists have been called upon to serve, a turn of events which, according to my prospectometer, could prove to be quite the opportunity. I shall show the world the full extent of machinistry's worth. Of that and more you can be sure of, my friend. Let me have a look at you. A touch nervous to enter the battlefield, perhaps? Well, I shall be out there alongside you as a temple knight serving you with your fine van. Though I may not look it, I was the Azure Dragoon once upon a time, so you can rest assured I will give all that I have in the coming fight. I certainly won't be shown up by you or Stinian. I have led troops into battle many a time, but never a unit with such a diverse range of talent. While I have been briefed of their capabilities, I expect you could provide additional insight into their strengths and weaknesses. I would appreciate any advice you may have. Besides the delegates assembled here, the Amalja and several other tribes offered to send troops of their own. Unfortunately, due to their physiology, many would struggle simply to survive in the harsh climate of Ilsabard. They would also likely prove tempting targets for abduction by the Telephoroi. All things considered, they can better aid the cause by bolstering our defenses in Eorzea, through their eagerness to do more has been noted. With you shall have to suffice. Ere we embark, we must distribute the warding scales to our comrades. Care to do the honors? We heard it would be cold in Garlemald, so we came prepared. Warding scales, disenchanted talismans, or should that be talismen? Would probably require considerably less time and effort to produce if the alchemists of the great work were not so preoccupied with making them look pretty. Oh, the talismans! We are to keep this close at all times, yes? I will see that no one misplaces theirs. Oh, and before I forget, I have a message from Hien. In distant lands, in times of strife, together stand, together fight. In darkness shines the light of life. I hope I have done his words justice. Doma, like much of Othard, has been plagued by the towers, yet while he could not be here, he wished to express his shared conviction. Hien and Yugiri labored without rest to unite the people, and with their aid we keep the enemy at bay. And we of the Steppe and the Eastern Alliance will repay their efforts by ending this war. Yes? So these are the famed warding scales. Enough for me and my men, I see. I myself am especially grateful for this opportunity to visit distant lands. I wish to follow in the footsteps of Master Atowa and learn all there is to learn of this star we call home. Indeed, that is the primary reason I volunteered to join the expedition, to journey outside the Twelfthwood, much less enter into Imperial territory, is a rare privilege afforded a Bajal. Not that I'm tagging along to see the sights, the Guardians would benefit from my healing magics as would our comrades, should fighting break out. I hear you've got something for us. Ah, them scales everyone's been talking about. Pretty little things, ain't they? Reckon they'll be worth a gil or two when this is all over, but we'll hold on to them for now. And one more thing. I know what you're all thinking. Why didn't they send Ainsha instead? Bug it if I know. All the Admiral and Captain Hilfer told me was they needed someone to help safeguard the future. And here I am. Can't say that they haven't got a sense of humor. Of course, some of you might be wondering what good a pirate is on dry land, in the middle of the sodden snow of all places. Well, me and my crew will do whatever needs doing, so let's set sail, or however the saying goes on airships. That a set of warding scales I spy, not that I would know what they would look like. Wow, look at these! Even a layman like me can tell they're bursting with ether. All the better to fend off the tempering waves? Is that the right term? Anyway, this will give us one less thing to worry about, which just leaves the other mountain of whatever else is waiting for us in Garlemald. Only one way to find out, eh? And nervous or not, I would march through all 7 hells if it gave me the chance to put Zenos back in the grave where he belongs. Warding scales for the Ishgardian delegation, I take it? Many thanks. These talismans may prove to be the deciding factor in the battles to come. I find myself conflicted by this foray into Garlemald. Sent by the Empire to infiltrate Ishgard, only to throw in my lot with those whose secrets I was supposed to be stealing, and now I lead a mission to save the countrymen I betrayed. But that is doubtless why I was chosen by Lord Aymeric. He would have me put my extensive knowledge and former ties to good use. I will not disappoint him. For the future of Ishgard, Garlemald, and the world at large, I would lead us to victory. Do you have a warding skill for me too? Of course, Maxima. Thank you for this, and for going to such incredible lengths for the sake of my people. Though I have little to offer in return, I would impart some advice, if I may. You have been told by many to wear the cold of Ilsabard, and I cannot stress enough that this is no token warning. I will be distributing specially made warming tinctures courtesy of the Alchemist Guild, but understand that they are no substitute for proper protection. I leave the provision of said protection to your discretion. Now, let us proceed to the Alamigan Quarter. While you make your final preparations, I will have the pilots ready the airships. Since my revival, I have been lax in expanding my limited wardrobe. Think we have time for a quick trip back to Old Charlayan. I recall a rather fetching coat. It's something of a constant refrain that we require warmer clothing. My present garb may be lacking, fur color notwithstanding. Concoctions to fortify the flesh against wind and cold are commonly sold in the olden markets, though they are of dubious provenance and efficacy. This said, however, that in recent days the Alchemist Guild had produced a tincture capable of such a feat, may have the achievements of their Thavnairian counterparts did spur them to action, that they not be put to shame. This coat is quite warm, but I have something rather thicker for occasions like these. There's no telling how long we'll be out in the open, and we can't go starting fires willy-nilly if we want to avoid detection. If you have anything you still need to take care of, you had better see to it now. This is our last chance to make ready before we set forth. You needn't worry about Eorzean and I. We still have what we wore in Gardermoot before. Styrian claims to be quite warm and toasty beneath his armor, and since he spent a fair bit of time now up north recently as well, I have no reason to doubt his words. Most of the others will be borrowing Grand Company stock. The rest of you could do likewise, I suppose, provided you're not overly concerned with style. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I wouldn't be seen dead in one of those ridiculous overcoats, if only I had time to find something to my liking. Hark! Is that the cry of science in need of a tailor I hear? This has got to be Tataru. But how? I have my ways, oh yes indeed. You thought you could sneak off to Ilsabard without telling me? Ha! Nothing escapes my notice. Now you will wear these garments I have made for you, whether you like it or not. You never cease to amaze. But why do you need a new outfit as well? Wait, are you coming with us? What? No, of course not, silly. It's all in the name of fashion. Rather, the pursuit of the highest quality fashion. Besides, how can I expect others to wear my creations if I have never worn them myself? Ah, I did have one other thing to share. Airacamus and Bluomwida have finally returned from assignments in the faraway lands. They'll be staying at the Rising Stones for a while, to keep an eye on events throughout Eorzea. Since they'll be running things back at headquarters, I was wondering if I could lend a hand in Charlayan. Oh, why not? You can keep crowd company in the Valdesian Annex. Yes, we would love to have you there. And I heard Ermgas and Bluomwida did a fine job carrying on in our stead while we were lying comatose. With them in charge of the Rising Stones, we have nothing to worry about. My thoughts exactly. Also, why I'm confident you won't go collapsing again, because a certain someone who shall remain nameless isn't in a position to transport your souls to another world. If anything similarly disastrous were to happen, I'll be well positioned to do something about it. Anyway, I've got a few things to take care of, and then I'll make my way to Charlayan. I really do hope these new clothes are enough to keep you warm in Gardermoot. It's not much, but it's the only thing I can do for you, other than pray for your safe return, which I will, every day. Let's not keep the contingent waiting any longer. Here are your winter woolies, handcrafted by yours truly.